not attached to the money that comes in and comes out. The money belongs to the bank, not to me. By that, in the same way, acting in Krishna consciousness or Buddha Yoga, or acting spiritually, means always conscious. Nothing belongs to me in this world. We can think that so many things belong to us, but you can also only think like that as long as you have the body. When you are out of the body, you are on the way to the next body. Nothing is ours anymore. It's just a good idea so this is a basic principle. From the moment you act and you want a profit, then you act materially and you get reactions, karma. And to receive these reactions, you have to take birth again and so on. But if you act without attachment to the result, then there are no reactions. Your action becomes non-reactive on a material platform. And that is a principle that will be explained more in depth in the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. But that is the lowest form of karma yoga. Now, in text 48, Lord Krishna gives a definition of yoga. What does yoga practically mean? He gives different definitions in the Bhagavad Gita. This is one of the first definitions he gives. He says, Yoga stako karmani sangantyatva dhananjaya. Siddha sityo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Perform your duty equipoised to Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So, to understand that, we can hear what Prabhupada says in the first part of the purport. Krishna tells Arjuna that he should act in yoga. And what is that yoga? Yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. And who is the Supreme? The Supreme is the Lord. And because he himself is telling Arjuna to fight, Arjuna has nothing to do with the results of the fight. Gain of victory are Krishna's concern. Arjuna is simply advised to act according to the dictation of Krishna. The following citation is real yoga that is practiced in the process called Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness only can one give up the sense of proprietorship. One has to become the servant of Krishna or the servant of Krishna. That is the right way to discharge Krishna consciousness, which alone can help one to act in yoga. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the perfect understanding of yoga. Yoga means being in contact with the Supreme, linking up plus being in contact. And the Supreme is Krishna. So yoga means linking up with Krishna, and that linking up is done by devotional service to Krishna, with the understanding that Krishna is the proprietor of everything and the enjoyer. So that is acting as a spirit soul. But spirit soul, what is the spirit soul? We have heard the characteristic, a lot of characteristic. The soul cannot be burnt, cannot be cut into pieces, that it cannot be seen by the eyes, is the source of consciousness in the body. It's eternal. It does not take birth. It does not die. So that are all characteristics of the soul. But what is the soul? That Lord Chaitanya says with Krishna himself. And it says the svarup of the living entity is Krishna Das. Shivera Svarupa Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. We are the eternal servant of Krishna because we are a spark of Krishna. But because we are a spark, to be under the spiritual energy, we must be connected with Krishna. And that connection is made by yoga, which is explained here. And yoga, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, is following the directions of Krishna, without being attached to success or failure. That is for Krishna. But we do our best. We do our best to get success. But the result is up to Krishna. And the result of our activities will be determined by Krishna. So we should be attached to follow Krishna's instructions. That's our duty. That is the activity of the spirit soul. The activity of spirit soul is serving. In the 3rd chapter, Krishna will explain the spirit soul cannot be inactive. It is active. It's active principle in this body. This body is alive. The hands move, the mouth is talking. It's because the spirit soul is inside. It's the spirit soul that is active. That without the spirit soul, the body cannot move, cannot act. So if the spirit soul is already so active in the body, then when it's out of the body at the time of death, how can it be inactive? It will remain active. It's eternally active, spirit soul. But that action, that natural action, is the eternal activity of the soul. And that eternal activity is called Sanatana Dharma. Dharma. Dharma, Srila Prabhupada says, means the occupational duty of the living entity, according to its constitutional position. Constitutional position means the activity of the soul, and that is serving. And we see in this world, everyone is serving. Some are serving their boss. The wife is serving the husband the wife. That the parents serve their children. The employee is serving the boss. Some are serving their country. Some are serving their dog. Everyone is serving one way or another. But it's all material. serving, identifying with the body. But spiritual service is activity of the soul. Spiritual service is serving Krishna in love. And that is the spiritual link. That links us up with the source of everything, the source of all spiritual strength, which is full of bliss and happiness and love. If our heart is pure, we can connect with Krishna fully and feel that unending bliss and happiness. That's what we all want. We want to love and be loved. And that's the highest love. But it means following. To attain that, we must follow Krishna's instructions. And Krishna gives all the instructions in Bhagavad Gita to act on the spiritual platform. Text. So, it's mentioned in the next verse. Durena Yavram Karma Buddhyo Dhananjaya Buddha Sharanamamvicha Kipana Falahetava. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto me. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their activities are misers. Misers, Srila Prabhupada says. So when one acts spiritually in yoga connected with Krishna, then it's so blissful, one does not want the lower activities anymore. That one experiences one's higher self, one's real self, eternal spirit soul. But now we are identifying with our lower self, of our temporary identification with the body. And that is problematic. Because if we identify with the temporary body, then we are experiencing so much misery. And what binds us to this material world, to that lower nature, it's sense gratification. It's especially sexual enjoyment. That's very dangerous. And here it is said, one who attains this higher taste, he gives up this lower one. And that's important. Krishna will confirm that a little further. That one, to give up these lower activities, these bodily activities, and engage in spiritual activities, one must have a higher taste. One must experience something better to give up the lower. And that's important, that we get that higher taste. And here it is said, one who acts as a spirit soul and experiences this bliss gives up all other engagements. They are abominable. But the point is, to act spiritually, we must give up our material activities, diminish them. Diminish all activities based on lust, anger, and greed. Lust to give satisfaction to a body which is temporary. People work their own life for so many things, gathering so many things, and at the end of life, they must leave it behind. It's all for nothing. It's insanity. Yeah, I've seen many that, especially in Flanders, a young couple is married and they have to build their own house. It is said a Flemish man is born with a break in his stomach. He has to build his own house, and and they marry and they get a loan from the bank, and then they pay for 35 years to the bank, and then they are 65, and their loan is finished, and they say, oh, it's mine now. And then a few years later they die. It's all or nothing. So as long as we are attached to sense gratification, spiritual life is difficult. So, if we want to enjoy in this world and are lusty, then and our material sense for enjoyment is high, then our spiritual life is low. But it must go from the one side to the other. Our material enjoyment and attachment to sense gratification would diminish, and the spiritual must go up. So that is required. Therefore, we follow 4 regulative principles: no illicit sex. That one must be truthful. That compassionate means one should not kill animals and not eat meat. That's not compassionate. And one should be austere, means no intoxication, no alcohol, no all these things. If one does these things, one remains attached to sense enjoyment. But if one follows these regulative principles, then it becomes lower, and your capacity to concentrate your mind on Krishna goes up, and you enter the spiritual realm. But of course, for many false yogis, they want this. Material enjoyment and spiritual life, that's not possible. These are cheaters. It's in the Vedas that you have lower principles of religion and higher principles of religion. The higher principles is Buddha Yoga, Krishna consciousness, what we explained. But to attain the higher principles of Krishna consciousness, one must follow first the lower ones. And the lower ones, it's explained in the first canto, chapter 16, the 4 principles of religion must be followed. What are these 4 principles? It's tapa, austerity. It's doya, compassion. It's satya, truthful, and cleanliness. These are 4 principles of religion. Cleanliness means cleanliness in mind. Cleanliness in mind and cleanliness external. You take a bath in the morning. That's the beginning of a devotee. Each day he takes a bath. External clean, and then internal clean. We are cleansing the mind by chanting japa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I read the scriptures. That's cleanliness. And truthfulness means one must know the truth to be truthful. And the truth is, we are spiritual beings, spiritual souls in a temporary body. moving from one body to another. And Krishna is God. He can get us out of this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease if we cultivate our relation with him. And that's Buddha Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, which is described here. That's the truth. To understand the truth, you must know 5 things and how they relate with each other. You must know who God is, Krishna. You must know who you are, the Jiva. You must know what karma is. Different kinds of karma. Material work, spiritual work. Material world keeps you in this world. Spiritual work liberates you. And then you have to know about Prakriti, material nature. How does it work, the 3 modes, and who controls material nature? It's Krishna, as Paramatma. And then you have Kala, time. Time, we are all under the influence of time. Therefore, the body undergoes 6 changes. It takes birth, it grows for some time, then it maintains, it has byproducts, children, then it dwindles, and then it dies. Nobody can stop that. Kala, you cannot stop it. They are all destined to go sooner or later. That our time is running out, not so much time left. That life is very short. Yesterday I was still at the school. Today I'm over 60, so it's going so quickly. Time. So you have to know these 5 things. That who controls material nature, who controls time, that it's Krishna. And then karma, the other point, what we do. The Jiva can act in relationship with Krishna and act spiritually, or can forget him and try to enjoy him. That's material work, different kinds of karma. So karma, Jiva, Krishna, Kala, Prakriti. These 5 things you have to know, and then you know the truth, that truthfulness, cleanliness, and then austerity. Spiritual life means austere. Austere means saying no to sense gratification, which is unnecessary. We must have some sense gratification to keep body and soul together, but not out of lust. So therefore we must be austere. Austerity, we don't drink alcohol, that no intoxication. And then the 4th one, compassion, doya. That if you eat meat, then the scripture said you will take birth as much as there are hairs on a cow. So many times you take birth. That's a lot. That's just by you eat meat, you make karma for millions of births. So that you have these 4 principles which we need to follow. For the 4 principles of religion. Doya, compassion, the tapa, austerity, satya, truthfulness, and then the fourth one is cleanliness. These are basic, lower principles of religion. That's the beginning. But to get out of this cycle of birth and death, we must act spiritually, and thus acting in Krishna consciousness. These are the higher principles. So like these four basic principles, you find also in many religions. Srila Prabhupada, when he spoke to Christians, he said, yes, why did you change the 10 Commandments? Because these 10 Commandments are based on these four principles. So it said, the original text said, thou shalt not kill. Why did you change it in thou shalt not murder? No, that is against these four basic principles of religion. So if one has understood that is a spirit soul and a servant of God, of Krishna, then it gives up all engagements except serving the Supreme Lord. So now we have chapter 6, lesson, chapter 6, text 550 to 59. This is a new section that so Krishna will explain here that yes, by following the principle of the spiritual principles of devotional service, as explained here, one becomes indifferent to the Vedic rituals. Vedic rituals, they are there to go to heavenly planets. Heavenly planets, there you can enjoy with Indra, you can enjoy there for many, many years, thousands of years. But to go there, you need pious credits. You must do pious activities. And these pious activities, how can we get these pious credits? By performing these Vedic rituals, pious activities. That without performing them, you cannot go to the heavenly planets. But if you go there, you can only stay there temporarily. It's like you have a bank account. On the bank account, they put money. You have money, and you can enjoy the money till it's bank zero. So you go to the heavenly planets, enjoy them there, and you have to come back here to again do a sacrifice to go there. It's like a Ferris wheel. You know, Ferris wheel you have in amusement parks. And you come down and a big wheel and you go up, you can see all the city and you have to go back. A Ferris wheel, up and down, up and down. That's, you go to the heavenly planets and you are there for a long time, but then finished. You have to come back, take birth again on the earth, cycle of birth to birth and death. So it's all temporary. And a devotee is not interested in that. He wants, because he wants to act as a spirit soul, Buddhi Yoga, and get out of this cycle of birth and death. that so it's like, shall I pop out another example he gives? It's like an airplane. You take an airplane. How long can you stay in the air? As long as you have fuel, otherwise you have to land. You go up and you have to land. So you have to come down. So these fatigue rituals that a devotee becomes indifferent to that. And therefore, by acting in Krishna consciousness, he becomes free from all karma that one has created. And he becomes free from birth, death, old age, and disease. So Krishna explains that. He said, because Arjuna was concerned if I engage in this battle, as Krishna asked me, I will get sinful reactions. But Krishna says, no, if you perform Buddha Yoga, you do it as an offering to me, there are no sinful reactions. And you become purified from all the previous sinful reactions. So he's defeating his argument. So after hearing Krishna's description of devotional service, Arjuna inquires how to recognize a devotee. That will be the last part of the second chapter. And Krishna will describe so many characteristics of a sthita prajna. Sthita prajna is a devotee who is absorbed in devotional service. So we will read 50. Buddhi yukta yatati ha ubesukati duskati tasma yukaya yutyasvayu kamasa kausalam. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So Krishna says here, you get rid of all your reactions, good and bad. We just said with the good reactions you can go to the heavenly planets, but the devotee does not want to go there. That's a very dangerous place. So much opportunity for sense gratification and forgetting Krishna. That's not a good place for a devotee. The devotee wants to go to the spiritual world, out of this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Therefore, Krishna states that in the next verse. Karmacham buddhi yuktai phalam tyaktva manishina janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchantanamayam. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. So if you, and that's very interesting, that you have to get rid also of your so-called good reactions. If you do good for someone and you feed people for free, or you do service for others, but not in Krishna consciousness, then you get price credits. That means in future lives, someone will feed you and will be nice with you. And to receive that reaction, you have to take birth again. Is it so pleasant to take birth? No, we don't want it. So a devotee has no interest in that. He wants to get rid of all these good and bad reactions, because you must get rid of all the good and bad reactions to escape this cycle of birth and death and go back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada says that. And then, so text 42. Yada te moa kalilam buddhir vyati tarishyati tada gandasi nirvetam shotavyasya shutasya. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. So I will read a part of the last part of the purport. The Vedic rites, rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayers 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respect to forefathers. But when one is in fully Krishna consciousness and is engaged in transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all the regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach a platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord, he has no longer to execute the different types of penances, sacrifices as recommended in the revealed scripture. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach back online, sorry for the disturbance, that sometimes the internet goes off here. We are in a small village. But I was just explaining this verse that so a neophyte must follow the rituals of the Vedas because he does not understand, when he is not understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and that the purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. If one does not understand that, then one must follow all these rituals that but if one understands the purpose of the Vedas, all these rituals is a waste of time. That when we understand Krishna, we understand our relationship with him, naturally we become indifferent to the Vedas, to the rituals of the Vedas. Because a person in Krishna consciousness is transcendentally situated. That all these rituals are meant to have a pious life in this material world. But a devotee is beyond that. Pious is also material, pious and impious activity. Pious activities gives pleasure to the body in the next life. Impious activity gives suffering to the body. So I think because the chat disappears, Shachni Prabhu had posted a question, but I cannot see it anymore. Maybe Shachni Prabhu, you can speak and explain what your question was. Hare Krishna. No. There's no. Anyway, are there any questions?
I can read the question, Maharaj, if you want, but I'm not sure if...
Okay. Okay, yes, please read.
Hare Krishna. The question is, if in the present life you were a true meat eater before you became Krishna conscious, will you also have to undergo the same process as the eaten animals, or will you have to take rebirth again and again and question mark? Of course, chanting the holy names and doing devotional service cleans negative karma, but does it clean all sins away?
That devotional service means devotion. The cleansing of the heart starts when we enter Anartha Nivritti. So, what does that mean? That when all my sins start to become eradicated. So, devotional service is a process. It's a process from Shraddha to Prema. So in the beginning, we are following regulative principles. We chant Hare Krishna, and we try to follow all these principles. It's difficult in the beginning, but once we come to it and we become steady in our devotional service, then, and we start to perform our devotional service without offenses, this cleansing in the heart starts to happen. But for the cleansing of the heart to happen, that one must chant without offenses. There are 10 offenses against the holy name, that to blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their lives for the preaching of the holy name, or thinking that names of demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, are higher than the name of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, that to disobey the orders of the spiritual master, or to consider him an ordinary person, to blaspheme the Vedic literature, to think that the chanting of the holy name is imagination, that or an exaggeration, that to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name, or to think that these Vedic rituals, which we have now discussed, that the Vedic rituals or karma kanda, that one follows them, that they are more important than Krishna conscious activity. That's also an offense. And also to explain this, the chanting of the holy name to non-believers, or to maintain material attachment, even after receiving so many instructions in this matter. These are 10 offenses, and they are very important. As long as we commit these offenses, the effect of the chanting will be minimal. But once we are chanting with attention, because attention comes when we overcome these offenses, that we should try to chant with attention. Then the holy name will, Krishna is the holy name, it will purify our heart, and that will start. But this period from Anartha Nivritti takes a while. Can take 20, 30 years, but finally you will become purified of all this. And then you attain liberation. And then you can feel deep devotion to Krishna. So that's quite a process. But yes, that's like eating meat or killing a cow. How long does it take? 30 minutes? In 30 minutes, you make karma for millions of births. You have to take birth as much that there are hairs on the body of a cow. Okay? That's just in 30 minutes. So how much karma must we have collected? It's beyond our imagination. But this holy name is so strong that it can destroy all this karma. It's so powerful. But we have to come to the platform of pure chanting. That by avoiding these offenses. That also in our service, we must think of Krishna while doing our service and offering everything to Krishna what we do. And that will also purify us. And if we are purified, if all the sins are gone, sinful reactions, we go back to the spiritual world, guaranteed. So it's up to us. If we take this process serious, then we will quickly become purified. Yes. And so that is the point. Attaining anartha nivritti. You have bhajna, you have shraddha in the beginning. You have some faith, and then when you have some faith, then your bhajna kriya, you meet the devotees and they explain how to offer food, how to chant, and so on, and you start to practice and follow the regulative principles. And in the beginning, it's a struggle. But when we overcome that struggle and we become steady, then anartha nivritti starts. And it takes a while, but we get better every day. That attachments are going, and we become more happy also. So that's a nice question, Sahipo. Thank you. Any other question? Good. Thank you very much. Then I look forward to see you on Tuesday. We will have 2 other lessons, and then we will have a break. And in January we will start on Sundays with summaries of the Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I was greatly benefited by your last lecture. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you.